What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with
Gersh1.
And guess what? We're back at it answering more questions you didn't need to guess because you already know, because it's for the greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. This is a 40K channel, so if you guys want to ask anything other than 40K questions, go for it. You can even give us a super thanks. It supports the channel, and it is a guaranteed answer. But like I said, we specialize in 40K. This question comes from... Do you have it?
Yeah, I got it. It's from Twist Jane. She asks, which 40K story was so emotional and sad that you almost cried like a baby?
Like a baby. I think, so the saddest story that I know of, I don't know the details by name, but there was an Ogren who had a commissar who he was protecting through many, many battles. And the commissar ends up dying. Now, if you don't know the lore behind the Ogrens have this strong sense of loyalty towards their handler, I guess you could call them. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, it was the commissar who was his handler. So with the commissar dead, the Ogren actually takes his skull, and then that commissar gets resurrected, I guess, kind of. Yeah. And he's just a floating skull that follows the Ogren around, kind of giving him moral support. But the story just says that he was devastated when he died. He cried for hours, and like they literally had to create this like skull commissar servo thingy in order to calm him down, because Ogrens are huge, monstrous creatures.
And it's really interesting because, like, when you think of, like, Ogren, you're supposed to think, oh, these guys are brutes, they're just here to, like, fight. But it's like, no, they actually have much more of, like, a relationship connection to their superiors. And like you were saying, it's very, like, almost to the point of, like, child and parent kind of, like, relationship.
Yeah, you're basically dealing with a very like simple mind, like a child's mind. So yeah. The other really sad story is, again, I don't remember the chapter by name, but there was a chapter that had to sacrifice itself in order to destroy a Necron tomb world that was going to basically destroy the entire sector. So the entire chapter died, the Bell of Lost Souls was rung, and the death of that chapter saved an entire sector for the Imperium. I forget what the novel's called, but yeah, Necrons versus Space Marines. Sad.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, you would think, oh, this is, Warhammer 40K where there's only war, but oftentimes you overlook the connections and the emotional attachment certain characters get. So I feel like it's really interesting, like, if you just play the tabletop, if you just read the codices, it's very easy to glance over, like, the emotional aspect of 40K, which you can usually just find in, like, novels and stuff like that. But even then, it's still hard to find that type of story where, like, you're really going to end up crying over in 40K.
Yeah, when I would write the creepypastas on the One Mind Syndicate page, it was difficult to create characters that you could relate to, because obviously, like, there's only a certain level that we have of connection between us and, like, fucking Angron or something. He's a fucking god.
Exactly.
Same thing with Space Marines. The Space Marines are supposed to be beings that are just, like, super, super powerful. That's why I think Eisenhorn is so good, because that Inquisitor is a human, and he has limitations and all that kind of stuff. His story is kind of sad, too. Spoiler alert. But he creates an entire, retinue of acolytes. And then at the end, he is manipulated by his demon host, who is another member of his retinue, and they all end up, he pushes all of them away, so it's really just Eisenhorn and this demon host. A demon host is a person possessed by a demon, and, like, it's just kind of sad that, like, you see the buildup of the crew that he has, and then it drops, and then obviously all it is him and this demon.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because, like, everything inherently is sad, it's depressing, it's supposed to put you in this, like, dark mood, and that never shies away from Warhammer 40K. I mean, it's grim dark after all, but I feel like there's a difference between like having an emotional connection that's going to make you cry than just seeing some like the Eisenhorn stuff and just be like, well, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So again, like we get a lot of that, the Eisenhorn stuff, but we don't get a lot of that emotional stuff.
Yeah. Next question.
I got one from DZiku222. In my opinion, Angron looks like crap. It's not a good model at all. Compare it to any artwork of Angron, and it's not it.
I don't know. I disagree. I feel that the Angron that we got looks really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the posing or the wings or what, but there's something, maybe it's like the face, maybe it's a little too goofy, because when you look at Magnus, I feel like that's a really cool model face-wise. You look at Mortarion, he's got the hood, he's got the rebreather like masks and stuff like that, and then you look at Angron, and I think it's like the chin or the bottom of the mouth is just very like squarish.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. But like besides that, I think it's a cool looking model.
Yeah. I don't know. Does the kit have different faces for Angron?
I don't think it does.
Oh, because Magnus had different faces, and so did Mortarion.
Yeah, because I know you could do like the singular eye, the mask.
Yeah. The eye looks really cool. I don't think anybody chooses it, but like it looks cool.
Mm-hmm. And then like the thing too with like, I know Magnus and Angron, I don't know if it's meant to be this way, but you have the option of putting the armor on or having it off. And I think that's really cool. I feel like these Primarchs look more imposing if they're just out on the battlefield with no armor on.
Fucking naked.
Almost basically tempting you, like, you know, there's nothing you can do to me. Like, I don't even have to wear armor. Like, I'm that invulnerable.
Yeah, the Magnus model, I think his nipples are hard. I think.
No, I think you know.
Next question comes from Sly Slug. Guys, the missing Primarchs are never going to have lore. They exist solely so you can canonize your homebrew legion on the tabletop. Anything you hear about the missing Primarchs is baloney. Awful clickbait for the video title. So, yes, I hope that what you're saying is true, but sadly, I feel that Games Workshop, as it moves more towards letting the IP into like the cinematic universes, the books, and all this kind of stuff, basically places where stories need to be told and they need to be like held down by solid like
facts, I
yeah,
guess.
like this is set in stone kind of thing. The more we get into those types of places, the more likely that the missing Primarch is going to have, they're going to have some type of lore. And we see it already.
It's already happened in the Horus Heresy novels. You'll get like a paragraph or a couple sentences of them mentioning them. We don't get like, oh, this is what they look like, this is who they were, but we get like, oh, the 11th statue is being held up, or for some reason when Russ was sent to kill them off, like the numbers of the Ultramarines swelled to like insurmountable numbers. So it's like you do get little inklings of what happened to them, maybe where they went, how they died, the Rangdang genocide, stuff like that. So it's like, I think I like that better than just outright telling us, but I feel like there is going to be a wall where eventually they're not going to give us any more information, because any more they step into this wall would go into who these chapters and these Primarchs are.
Yeah, and I think right now Games Workshop needs to focus on the fact that, yes, it's a sandboxy world. 40K should stay a sandboxy world. It doesn't matter that you're going into cinematic universes. It doesn't matter that you're turning into these or creating these stories from the Horus Heresy. You need to have some type of ambiguity so that we players don't feel forgotten or like screwed over because we created our own lore and now you've created like a book that talks about the Lost Primarchs, things like that.
Homebrew is going to be really insurmountable when it comes to like the new people, because if there's a Space Marine chapter that you want to build and it's not out there, that gives you the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So Games Workshop would never screw over its base, especially the fans that have been playing forever.
Right.
Something crazy like if you have a full Space Marine army, create new Space Marines so they have to buy a whole new army. They would never do something like that.
They would never retcon lore that's 30 years old. They would never do something like that.
Or even for like Age of Sigmar, get rid of what, three
factions? That's wild. They would never do that.
Games Workshop loves us. Next question.
This one's by Captain Nemo. You guys mentioned you're playing D&D. What races and class are your current characters?
So we've played 2 D&D sessions. The first one was the DM. You were the DM, the Sound Alchemist, and we had classes and races, right?
I believe so. Yeah, because it was basically D&D, but with a little bit of like 40K flavor thrown into it. And now we're playing another one where it's the opposite. We're basically playing 40K with a little bit of D&D pushed in it.
Which I like that better. I like the fact that when we first played D&D, you basically, because I was playing an orc, so you basically said then you're gonna take the rules of the orc, and that's what we looked up the because we use the app, the 5e character build thing, so that's what we based it off of, and I think the other player was doing elf, right, because he was a dark eldar,
right.
But yeah, when you actually create your own, because Docile Creature is DMing that one, it's really cool to like not have to worry about like buffs or anything from D&D. You're just strictly 40K. We even have the same guns as 40K.
Yeah, so it's like we have the same stat line as 40K as opposed to like wisdom, perception, and all that, and we're basically kind of like making it make sense as we go.
Yeah, if you want to run a D&D style 40K game, I recommend you guys do the same thing. But also, don't worry too much about balancing out the combat. It plays out fine. There's a YouTube channel that does shorts of like God School versus, I don't know, Commissar Yarrick or stuff like that. It's basically that on the tabletop. You're playing small little skirmishes with 40K rules. The games are really quick because it's kind of like whoever hits first is going to win. But there's fun ways to kind of like make combat fun.
And we've mentioned it in the previous video, but there is a D&D 40K thing called Wrath and Glory. But
It's stupid.
Yeah, that's its own other thing. Like, we could have chose to play that, but then that's a whole nother rule set to learn, and it's theater of the mind as opposed to like models on the table.
And I get it. I'm pretty sure that Games Workshop, because Games Workshop didn't create Wrath and Glory, but I'm pretty sure that when they gave the rights to that company to create Wrath and Glory, they were like, hey, we don't want you to tap into our base of like, we don't want you guys to sell models, basically. Right. So make it theater of the mind, but that's just such a stupid thing. Like Games Workshop could have made a bunch of money by having Wrath and Glory be a tabletop game, and then those tabletop players of this role-playing game come over to 40K and buy Games Workshop product because they want to field like an Onager Doomcrawler or like some type of demon or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And it's such a, to me, it just boggles my mind how perfect like the little kill team sets are to play that type of RPG like style.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows what kind of businesses Games Workshop did in the top or that whole thing.
Right.
But those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. We didn't get to all of them, but if you really want a question answered, you can hit us up with this super thanks. It supports the channel, and it also gets your question answered. If not, we will answer more in the next episode.
That's right. It's been the Sound Alchemist here with
Gershwan.
And we are signing out.
Oh, if you took up my freedom.